Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit. It's all going to be based on evidence. It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did. Actually, Blake Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, was planting stories negative to Justin. And all Justin wanted to do, and it's all through the text messages. If the New York Times apparently reviewed 1,000 or more pages of text messages, they would have seen it. Justin never wanted to hurt her, never wanted to be negative to her. He wanted to protect the film, he wanted to protect himself, and he wanted to protect her from making negative allegations about him that were made up and that are proven in this case. That
Blake Lively was completely caught off guard on live television when Bryan Freedman made a remark that left her visibly stunned. It wasn't the kind of moment where her usual grace and quick wit could smooth things over. Instead, his unexpected comment created a surreal pause, as if time briefly froze in the middle of an otherwise ordinary day.
with the New York Times, her publicist worked directly with the New York Times. They shared illegally obtained text messages. They shared those together. They concocted a complaint that they filed with the Civil Rights Division. They omitted texts that would have provided context, texts that were in the exact same string that would have provided context of what was really going on. And in fact, they actually removed emojis from texts that show that there was satire and there was joking around by the PR crisis agents. I mean, the PR crisis agents.
Observers noted that Blake Lively's usual sparkle seemed to dim, replaced by a look that blended disbelief with a hint of ironic amusement. In a world where every word is analyzed and every reaction picked apart, her brief silence spoke louder than any polished comeback could. As the cameras kept rolling and the live audience hung on every moment, it became clear that even someone as poised as Blake Lively wasn't immune to the unpredictable turns of live television. Who would have thought a single comment could leave a Hollywood icon momentarily, if dramatically, speechless?
So this is an excerpt from my new favorite book, which is the website that Justin Baldoni published, all about his correspondence with Blake Lively. And this is one of my favorite excerpts with my new favorite Game of Thrones character, Blake Lively. Are you ready for it? And him serving it back to her is just as important. You don't usually see both the man and the woman with such agency and humor. Anyway, I can act it out for you next week to make sure it comes through. Or I can send it now. Let me know what you prefer. XX. To which Justin Baldoni responded, "Sorry, I was just crying my eyes out as kids and family just left for another 5 weeks and it was a shit show. Heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji."
What was meant to be a routine live broadcast quickly turned into anything but. The stage was set for the unexpected, and Bryan Freedman, known for his offhand remarks and flair for stirring controversy, seized the moment. That evening, he seemed determined to steal the spotlight with a comment that was as bold as it was unfiltered. In a scene that felt like a collision between spontaneity and celebrity, Bryan leaned into the microphone, wearing a grin that warned something provocative was coming. His words cut through the studio's casual buzz like a hot knife through butter, stripping away any pretense. With his trademark bravado, he touched on a subject that struck uncomfortably close to home for Blake, a topic long murmured about in private circles, but never so brazenly aired under the unforgiving glare of live television.
Freedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, has just shot back at Blake Lively's motion to dismiss. Blake is abusing the legal system. 3 exclamation points. Bryan Freedman tells TMZ Miss Lively's recent motion to dismiss herself from the self-concocted disaster.
The comment came as an unexpected twist in a conversation that had, up until that point, carried the polished tone of polite banter. Bryan, with his signature irreverence and a smug glint in his eye, casually dropped a remark that might have seemed harmless on paper. But his delivery, cocky and deliberately provocative, loaded it with unspoken implications. In that split second, as his words echoed through the studio, the camera cut to Blake Lively. Her reaction was instant and unmistakable, an expression that seemed to say, "Seriously? You can't be serious." Her eyes widened just enough to betray the internal tug-of-war between shock and the urge to unleash a sharp comeback. For a fleeting moment, the glossy facade of Hollywood cracked, revealing a rare, unscripted glimpse of raw emotion, an unguarded reaction even the most seasoned star couldn't have rehearsed.
She bullied her way through the process to take over the movie and used her PR people to try and destroy Justin. There's a number of different defendants here. Stephanie Jones will be all over this complaint. That is the PR agent who was supposed to be working for Justin Baldoni. Leslie Sloan, who's another PR agent who will be part of this lawsuit. That was Blake Lively's. Blake Lively will be sued, and we're carefully considering other people that will be sued also. Ryan Reynolds, for sure.
Bryan, clearly enjoying the ripple effect of his own spontaneity, didn't stop there. With each word, he pushed the moment further, his voice laced with a self-assurance that demanded attention. The easy, light-hearted vibe of the studio quickly gave way to something far more charged, an atmosphere crackling with tension. The audience, a blend of industry insiders and devoted fans, leaned forward in their seats, sensing they were witnessing a moment that was anything but scripted. Some smirked at the irony. After all, it's not every day that someone as composed as Blake Lively is left momentarily speechless by an offhand remark. Others watched in suspense, fully aware that this was the kind of live TV gold destined to be replayed, picked apart, and memified by tabloids, social media, and late-night talk shows for weeks to come.
Freedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, has just shot back at Blake Lively's motion to dismiss. Blake is abusing the legal system. 3 exclamation points. Bryan Freedman tells TMZ Ms. Lively's recent motion to dismiss herself from the self-concocted disaster she initiated is one of the most abhorrent examples of abusing our legal system. Freedman says stringent rules are put into place to protect the innocent and allow individuals to rightfully defend themselves, while noting laws are not meant to be twisted and curated by privileged elites to fit their own personal agenda. In his statement to TMZ, Freedman reiterated, as we said yesterday in response to Mr. Reynolds' same cowardly measures, we will continue to hold Ms. Lively accountable for her actions of pure malice, which include falsely accusing my clients of harassment and retaliation. Freedman summed it up by saying Blake's fantastical claims will be swiftly debunked as discovery moves forward, easily disproved with actual evidentiary proof.
Behind the scenes, the production team scrambled to preserve some sense of control. Directors exchanged tense, knowing glances, while producers muttered urgent instructions into earpieces, fully aware that they were no longer managing just another segment. They were witnessing a moment that would be etched into live television history. On screen, the initial flicker of shock on Blake's face was quickly masked by a practiced smile, the kind that didn't quite reach her eyes. It was a smile that said, "I caught that, and no, I'm not entirely amused." If one could have tuned into her inner monologue, it likely would have been a rapid-fire stream of sarcastic comebacks and razor-sharp one-liners, each crafted to reclaim control of the moment. But instead, the sharp wit she's known for was replaced by a telling silence, one that, in its restraint, spoke louder than any quip ever could.
The bad guy, and just to lay it out for the audience in a little bit more detail, what she's claiming is that even though she was a much bigger star than Justin Baldoni, who I never heard of before this lawsuit, she's the much bigger star, and she's married to an even bigger star than she is, Ryan Reynolds, that she came in and onto this project and started to get harassed and mistreated by Justin and some others, and that when she then demanded that all of her concerns be rectified, that he did it, but that he was basically lying in wait for when the film would get released in case she went public with what happened, that he and his PR team determined to bury her, to ruin her, and that this wave of bad press we did see about Blake Lively when the film came out this past summer was not organic. It was totally orchestrated by Justin and his team, and they've gotten their hands on a bunch of texts.
The conversation drifted on, as if the earlier moment had been nothing more than a small bump in an otherwise seamless exchange. Bryan, ever the provocateur, continued to sprinkle the discussion with follow-up remarks that subtly escalated his original jab, each one sharper than the last. His tone remained breezy and conversational, the kind you'd expect between old friends sharing a laugh. But just beneath that casual exterior was a deliberate edge, a clear intent to rattle the polished facade of one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. Blake's responses, when they came, were calm and composed, measured to perfection. On the eye surface, she appeared unfazed, offering cool, carefully crafted retorts that gave nothing away. But behind those poised answers was the quiet tension of someone navigating the minefield of live television, leaning on professionalism to shield the personal impact of a moment she hadn't seen coming.
Baldoni's the bad guy, and just to lay it out for the audience in a little bit more detail, what she's claiming is that even though she was a much bigger star than Justin Baldoni, who I never heard of before this lawsuit, she's the much bigger star, and she's married to an even bigger star than she is, Ryan Reynolds, that she came in and onto this project and started to get harassed and mistreated by Justin and some others, and that when she then demanded that all of her concerns be rectified, that he did it, but that he was basically lying in wait for when the film would get released in case she went public with what happened, that he and his PR team determined to bury her, to ruin her, and that this wave of bad press we did see about Blake Lively when the film came out this past summer was not organic. It was totally orchestrated by Justin and his team, and they've gotten their hands on a bunch of tech.
As the segment unfolded, the moment began to take on a life of its own. Observers noted that each time Bryan's words echoed through the studio, the energy subtly shifted. A collective intake of breath, a lull in laughter, a brief but telling silence. It was as if everyone, all at once, realized they were witnessing something far from ordinary. It wasn't just what Bryan said that captivated the room. It was how he said it, in a medium where every word is scrutinized and every expression amplified. Even the smallest misstep can become a cultural flashpoint. And on this day, that misstep came in the form of Bryan Freedman's bold, unfiltered comment, one that momentarily disarmed Blake Lively and etched itself into the unpredictable canon of live television history.
Lively writes, I can send you my pass at the roof, or just read with you when we get together next week. Let me know what you prefer, smiley face. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of just how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with tea.
Despite the simmering tension, the show carried on with its carefully scripted segments. The host, ever the consummate professional, did his best to redirect the conversation, weaving in humor and lighthearted banter in a bid to smooth over the awkwardness and restore some sense of normalcy. But the damage had already been done. The studio audience, now alive with hushed whispers and knowing glances, was fully attuned to the unspoken drama that had just played out before them. Meanwhile, social media exploded in real time. Fans and critics alike flooded the internet with their hot takes, some amused, others outraged, and many simply stunned. Tweets and posts dissected every angle of the moment, from body language to tone, turning it into a digital frenzy. Within minutes, memes were born, instantly immortalizing the instant when a single offhand comment transformed an otherwise routine broadcast into a spectacle of unscripted, unforgettable brilliance.
Baldoni, because he treated me well and did nothing wrong, and I allowed him to sit in a basement with his family because I was starstruck by Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, that Blake Lively was the aggressor in this now epic showdown. Was it right after was it when Baldoni dropped the countersuit? Was it when Bryan Freedman put up the website with the 170 pages and all the text? Or was it right away when the Times wrote?
Right away, I've always had an intuition about her, and I've always had an intuition about Taylor Swift and like the branding of the nice girl stuff. And something just didn't. I went through Justin Baldoni's Instagram, and he just seemed like a puppy. And I read it just didn't add up to me that this guy was secretly just dying to talk about pornography all the time and talk about his porn addiction and wanted her to look at pornography. I'm going, this is not the Instagram feed I'm looking through. And I went back years.
In the days that followed, the incident became prime fodder for relentless commentary. Talk shows, podcasts, and online forums eagerly dissected the exchange between Bryan's bold remark and Blake's uncharacteristic silence. The entertainment world buzzed with analysis, each voice weighing in on whether the moment was a calculated jab or simply an offhand slip. A rare flash of candor in an industry where every word is typically rehearsed and every reaction carefully managed.
Oh, it was monstrous what she did, and she's got to pay for it.
As the weeks went by, industry insiders began to speculate about the long-term effects of the incident. Some suggested it might prompt publicists to rethink how they prep their clients for live interviews, placing a new emphasis on quick-witted comebacks and unshakable composure. Others speculated it could spark a trend of on-air spontaneity, with hosts and guests feeling more daring to veer off script. Meanwhile, late-night hosts had a field day, weaving the incident into their monologues with a perfect mix of sarcasm and charm. It seemed that each mention only added to the moment's allure, transforming what could have easily faded into obscurity into a cultural touchstone. For those who savored the delicious irony of live television blunders, the incident became an iconic example of unscripted brilliance.
Ryan Reynolds has a few secrets in the closet, too, that they don't want people to be taking a look at, and it's going to destroy these people. That's why they wanted this attorney's eyes-only privilege. And basically, we can say anything. The public can't see it, just the attorneys. It was kind of a radical thing to want, and they were arguing that, careers could be ruined. Well, what could be ruined? You might be a little embarrassed, but to ruin a career, there has to be some level of fraud in terms of how you're presenting yourself to the public and who you are in private. And so that kind of a desperate sort of a pleading, which was to do something that was abnormal and file for this attorney eyes only, which they didn't give them. He kind of half-weighted and said, according to medical records, which is self-explanatory. But that lets me know that they're scared, and they're not going to admit that until they lose the dismissals. And then I think they're going to want to settle.
The episode became a textbook example of the delicate balance between candor and decorum. Bryan Freedman's comment, delivered with a smirk and a wink, not only disrupted the flow of the conversation, but also pierced the carefully crafted image of one of Hollywood's brightest stars. While Blake Lively's momentary silence may have been brief, its impact was far from fleeting. For those who witnessed it, the moment captured the unpredictable essence of live television, a reminder that beneath every polished persona lies the potential for unscripted brilliance, or at the very least, a dose of unexpected irony. There was no grand resolution that evening, just a series of sidelong glances, muted chuckles, and the unspoken understanding that sometimes the most memorable moments in live TV are the ones no one saw coming. In hindsight, the incident has come to be celebrated as much for its audacity as for its humor, cementing its place as a perfect example of live television's chaotic charm.